it's me, Sarah, back with Pep Talks number 3. I hope that you are excited and ready for your semi-daily, weekly dose of personality type instruction and awareness to help unravel the misunderstandings in your family life and strengthen those bonds. So we've been talking a lot about the theory of psychological type, and today we're going to apply that theory to a real-life situation so that you can start to see the value of understanding someone's personality type in being able to decode their behavior. So a couple of friends were kind enough to share a situation that they're having in their family with me, and it pertains to their son Jake. And Jake is a wonderful little boy whom I know and love dearly. He's almost 5, very bright, and he's having a problem on the playground. And the problem is apparently as described, that when Jake goes out to the playground, he starts telling his friends what to do. This was as described by adults, understanding this is adult interpretation. Jake goes out to the playground, starts telling his friends what to do, and then he runs after them and keeps telling them what to do, and then they run away, and Jake gets angry that they're not listening, and apparently this came to a head when he threw some mulch at them and yelled and started to cry, and this happened several days in a row, and was just inconsolable. And the parents were called in for a conference because they were stating that Jake's behavior was evidencing that he has a problem with bossiness, and that he also has trouble sharing and playing with others. And his parents, of course, were perplexed because Jake is their only child, but they've observed him playing with older children in the neighborhood and gets along very well with his babysitter, and just couldn't understand where this was suddenly coming from. And so, as we all do as parents, they started to wonder, and it was hard not to worry because there didn't seem to be any obvious clues as to a change in sleep or a change in environment that would have caused this kind of emotional upheaval for Jake. So I was so grateful that in their investigation, they were willing to share this with me because we took a look at Jake's energy patterns. Now, I was able to help a little more quickly because I know Jake, but we picked apart what the facts were as they were described to us about what was going on in the playground and what we know about Jake. So when we look at the extrovert, we know that the extrovert prefers to do and then think and then do. They act. They like to talk in order to process, in order to think. They're energized by their outside world and they're drained by too much time alone. Okay, so let's add all those pieces together and see what we're going to get in Jake's situation. And I already had a sense that Jake was likely an extrovert because he's been chit-chatting and outgoing since he was a baby. But when we looked at this particular circumstance, his parents said, well, this seems sort of extreme. But you need to remember that Jake is coming out of being inside the classroom all morning, and we know that extroverts tend to be drained by too much time alone. Time alone, they said, that he's in the classroom with all the children. Yes, but he's trying to be a good student by being quiet and working alone the way he's supposed to. And that sort of verbal isolation can be very draining to the extrovert. So he gets out on the playground, he's ready to talk, he's ready to move, and he's got a terrific plan that he wants to share with all of his friends. Now, how is he sharing that plan? He's talking as he's thinking about it. So as he shouts directions at them and repeatedly shouts directions, it's because he's trying to work out the plan as he's talking. He hasn't had the opportunity to talk it out in the classroom where he was thinking quietly. Now, why is he running after them? Well, because extroverts tend to do. He's not going to reflect on it. He knows he's got this great idea. He wants to do it. And we know that certain types of stress heighten a person's personality type. So our extroverts, when they have too much time alone, when they're not really encouraged or allowed to talk, when they have to be more quiet and reflective and internal, that becomes stressful to the extrovert. And so when they're given the opportunity to blow off some of that steam, they super extrovert. And so they will move more, talk more, demand more is how it looks to the adults, when really the reality is, knowing Jake and knowing the way he plays, I also have a suspicion that he is an intuitive type. He prefers big, grand plans. He wanted to engage his friends in all being part of a zoo. One was going to be a cheetah, one was going to be an elephant, one was going to be a giraffe. It wasn't that in talking to Jake we discovered he just had this terrific plan. And he loves his friends, and he wanted to share this plan with them because he knew they'd have fun once they tried it. And so Jake's preference for extroversion and intuition were being misinterpreted as bossiness and poor socialization, when the truth was he wanted to include his friends and just didn't know how to get his point across. Now, why wasn't this emerging in other relationships? Because a child of this type frequently does get along better with older children because they're patient enough, not saying that the younger children are impatient, but they're at a developmental stage where they're able to sit and listen and concentrate on the younger child's explanation. When all these young 4-year-olds would go out to the playground, all of them who were extroverted, not necessarily the introverts, but all of these little boys who were running off in all these directions, they too had been drained by too much quiet time alone and were ready to move. And because we know that more of the world prefers sensing, which is being present and practical in reality, over intuition, which is thinking about possibilities in the future, it's arguable too that a lot of the kids are oriented to moving and doing in the present, whereas Jake was thinking about what is possible in this environment in the future. So once we were able to unravel this mystery, his parents felt so relieved to know that this wasn't really a sign of poor socialization as much as it was an opportunity to help Jake feel empowered to communicate with his friends and also inform his teacher of his preference and his need to communicate his plans and share his ideas with his friends and how they could support that, so that Jake feels heard but also understands that not everyone is going to want to participate in his game, and how can we make this work for everyone. But the biggest issue that needed to be solved was the meltdown that Jake was having was coming from his attempt to communicate and being, in his interpretation, ignored. And for an extrovert, being ignored is like a knife in the heart. So that's why Jake became so incensed, was because he felt that his friends, his good friends whom he loves and cares for, were ignoring him. And that was very hurtful. So I was so excited to bring this to you today because maybe there's a child in your life that experiences this type of thing too, that gets labeled as bossy. Next time we're going to talk about kids that are labeled as shy and what we can learn about with their personality type preferences that might help support them take off these negative labels and instead get to the heart of what the child needs to thrive instead of just survive. So I think we got a little extra time, but I hope you enjoyed today, and I look forward to seeing you at Pep Talk 4. And parents, you're doing great. Bye.